Are you feeling like menopausal symptoms are causing you to suffer at work? Maybe it's not just your productivity or how well you're doing on your tasks, but maybe it's just that you don't feel like going, you don't have the motivation, or maybe you're snapping at colleagues and coworkers. All of these are actually immensely important and not at all funny, because menopause directly affects how women function in their jobs and at work, whether you work remote or you work in the office. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about 3 big symptoms and how they actually affect you at work, and some takeaways on what you can do to improve your work environment so that you can feel, function, and thrive in midlife at work. So if you're interested, stick around. If you don't know me, I'm Dr. Heather Hirsch. I'm the program director of the Menopause and Midlife Clinic at the Brigham and Women's Hospital, and I see patients day in and day out for menopause, perimenopause, and other related midlife symptoms. And the one thing that most women have in common is that they find it is affecting their performance at work. And there's 3 big reasons it can affect their performance. The first is sleep, the second is brain fog, and the third is hot flashes. So we're going to dive into how each of those things can really affect your performance and what we know from research about women's quality of life in midlife and how it affects their working life. A really big study was done in about 2015 looking at the cost per woman with untreated vasomotor symptoms and how this directly and indirectly increased the cost of healthcare. So what exactly does that mean? Well, it means if you're having menopausal symptoms, and in this study they were specifically looking at hot flashes, but trust me, that's not the only one. They found that women missed more work, retired earlier, and increased the cost of healthcare because their symptoms were untreated. Now let's break down how this actually really happens in real life. In real life, what happens is a woman is really busy and all of a sudden menopause hits. And sometimes, not viewers of this channel, but sometimes women don't know that the symptoms they are experiencing are a part of the hormonal loss of estrogen in the menopause transition. They may have no idea why all of a sudden they're not asleep, they're worrying, they're flashing. So this kind of creeps up on women, and then what happens is they go to many doctors' offices trying to figure out what is this mysterious thing and how to treat all these different issues. But the secret is that it's actually one thing. It's all a part of menopause. And so it's not uncommon that women first go see their primary care doctors, then maybe a gynecologist, maybe a sleep doctor, maybe a psychologist or a sociologist. Maybe they're also going to an endocrinologist, a cardiologist for heart palpitations, and on and on and on it goes, all trying to figure out what could be going on with them. And this study found that per woman with untreated symptoms, each woman cost about $2,000 in either missed revenue from work or just the cost of healthcare, which is astronomical when you consider that this was hundreds of thousands of women. So do the math and you will be floored at how much money that is. Now, it's not the patient's fault. If anything, actually, I think it's the healthcare system completely missing the fact that menopause is more of a chronic thing and not a siloed event. But there are things that you can do that you can help combat these issues here. First is education, knowledge, and power, meaning that if these symptoms start to come on, or as they start to come on, you can think to yourself, this is menopause, and thanks to Dr. Hirsch's channel, I now know where to start. So let's next get into the 3 big symptoms that can definitely affect your work. The first is sleeping disorders, sleeping problems, insomnia, whatever you want to call it. There's 2 big things that happen to women in the menopause transition. The first is not being able to fall asleep. And a lot of times what happens is women find they can't shut off their brains. When they get into bed, they start having anxiety and worrying. It's either about one of 2 things, family or work. And this inability to fall asleep or set boundaries mentally is really important because it bleeds into how much your life can be affected by the menopausal transition at work. So you're losing sleep. Now, second, a lot of women wake up with night sweats, or what we call hot flashes at night. They toss and turn. The quality of their sleep is really poor. And sometimes if women wake up with a hot flash, they cannot fall back to sleep. And this is really important because women's sleep starts to decline. And it's obviously no stretch to think that if you're getting poor sleep, you're definitely not going to feel motivated or energized the next day. You're going to deal with tasks much more slowly. And also, you may notice that your mood is different. The lack of sleep is going to be reflected in the way you treat yourself and you treat others. The second thing that happens is what I call menopause brain fog, which is really just sort of a slang term for what women tell me when they see me in clinic, which is a change in cognition, processing speed, or just remembering steps of different tasks, and also word finding. So many women tell me that they'll be in big meetings and they're about to say something, or they're giving presentations, or they're in a courtroom, or they're talking to students and they simply can't remember the words. And while that alone is troublesome, then comes the embarrassment and then, the negative self-talk about your worth. And a lot of this is really, really common in the menopausal transition. Another way this can also be affecting you is in the processing speed. So some women tell me what used to take them an hour now takes them an entire day. And that's going to reflect your productivity. And again, that's going to come back to your self-worth at your company, or if you're running your own company, it's going to have direct financial implications for you and any employees that are under you. The third is hot flashes. And a lot of this is because it's most likely that if you are having vasomotor symptoms or hot flashes, that you're having some of these other symptoms, like night sweats, brain fog, and then this can also cause mood disorders. It's not fun to be flashing all day. I have heard so many different stories of women having hot flashes at meetings, in court, or nurses flashing over patients as they're trying to move them from one bed to another. It's severely going to physically impact your presence and what you feel like you can accomplish during the day. It definitely also affects other cardiovascular outcomes. So a hot flash is not just a nuisance. It can increase your risk for chronic diseases, and when untreated, can increase the cost of healthcare, as I alluded to back in the beginning of this video. There's other symptoms that absolutely can affect your ability to work that it didn't get a ton of mention, but mood symptoms can also affect how you're seen or not seen as a team player. Arthralgias and joint aches and pains can affect especially people who work with their fingers or fine motor movements, or artists. All right, so what can you do about this? Well, number one, be educated and informed. So if you found this video helpful, share it to friends, share it to colleagues, because knowing that this could be this is really, really important. Second, really, if you're having more bad days than good, seek out medical support and medical help. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to take hormone therapy. You don't need to take hormone therapy. It just means that there are probably options that can help you through this period of time in your life. Now, I've talked a ton about hormone therapy here on this channel. You can watch my playlist here. If you're not a candidate for hormone therapy, I have videos on non-hormonal options. But we know that women who are treated back in that study actually did better, worked longer, retired less often. So there is immense benefits to not only treating what your numbers are, but how you feel and how you physically show up in your body and how you present yourself to the world. And third, talk about it. Talk about it ad nauseum. Talk about it at length. There's a lot coming out in the world of menopause, specifically how it affects women at work. I did a podcast on Harvard Business Review on women at work. I'll link that in the description below. There is lots of things coming out in papers and publications about women at work in the menopause transition. This is definitely something that the more we talk about it, the more that HR and those in the C-suites and those who are in leadership positions at your institutions and jobs will help make accommodations for women going through menopause who have symptoms, and that's the world that we need to be in. Just like we made accommodations for women to breastfeed at work, that's wonderful, but we need the same thing when it comes to the end of our reproductive cycle, because age women 45 to 55 are really the secret sauce of society, and they have so much wisdom, knowledge, and skills that they should be really functioning at their best. And menopause doesn't mean it's gonna have to wipe that out. As long as we acknowledge it, maybe treat it, and work with our employees, I think it's going to be a better place for all of us. I hope you guys found this video informative and interesting, insightful, and actually really timely. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, comment below, and tell me what affected you the most at work. Please share it to your social medias so that more people find this channel and know that there is absolutely hope and advocacy for all things midlife and women's health. And I will see you guys next week for a brand new video. Bye, everyone.